Welcome to the Real Estate Investing Podcast, where we help you unlock your potential freedom through land investing, real estate investing, and entrepreneurship.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Real Estate Investing Podcast. My name is Apke, your host, and today I'm very excited to have a successful member, Corey Cortez, joining me. He's going to tell us all about his story, his future plans with land, and how he ended up here. Before we get started, let's go over a Discord question from one of our members. As someone who is just starting in the business, what do you think the most important educational piece is? And this question is from Jan. To answer this, Jan, I think this is a really exceptional question. You need to be diverse in your education. Like, as you're learning about land investing, like, you cannot just learn about sales. You cannot just learn about pricing. You cannot just learn about selecting a county. Long term, the most valuable aspect of this business is reviewing deals, being able to say yes or no to a deal. Because as you up your mail volume, as you learn all that, that's going to be the same thing every time. Reviewing deals is a very, very specialized thing. And it takes a lot of people 6 months, 12 months to really feel comfortable with that. And then even after that, they still kind of need assistance from Dan or myself, whatever it is. But long term, the most valuable aspect of land investing is being able to review deals on your own, being able to say yes or no to deals on your own. Other than that, let's get started in the topic of the show. And like I said, this is Corey Cortez. He's a successful member. He's been in the program for about 8 months. But let's talk about Corey. First, let's just talk about your background before land. Like, where were you before land? And then we'll kind of get into everything else.
Well, thanks for having me on, Ron. I want to start by saying that. And my background basically is I work as a field sales rep for a natural foods company. So that's my full-time gig, my W-2 job. I got involved in real estate about 2 years ago. I got my real estate license, mostly did residential sales, and I always wanted to take a focus on, continuing education and learning more. And I happened to stumble upon your podcast, and I think it was September 2022, so almost a year ago now. And, really resonated with a lot of things you guys talked about, how transparent you were about, the numbers and stuff like that. And, I love the niche of it, love the business model. So I wanted to just continue to learn more.
Nice. And are you one of those guys who kind of like September, I think you joined in October. Are you one of those guys who like does a little bit of education, then you're like, this is for me, I jump in? Or were you, some people it takes 6 months and it's like a process for them. Maybe you're somewhat in between that. How did that kind of go?
Yeah, I would say I'm somewhat in between that. I definitely focused, a lot on the education side of things for probably 2 to 3 months. I didn't really start sending out mail until January. So probably about 2 months, I really focused on education. But at the end of the day, I am the type of person where I like to be thrown into the fire, so to speak. So I would definitely say, once I had a basic idea of what I needed to do, I kind of dived in.
Exactly. And you've been you've been a consistent person, like in our Wednesday calls. Continuous education is extremely important in this business. If you're trying to get into anything, I think that's one of the most important things you can do. And even up to this point, when you're successfully doing deals, you are still in all of our calls, getting deals reviewed, putting your input in there, which is helpful for the community and helpful for yourself in terms of continuing to educate. But you said you joined in October. You sent your first few mailers in January, so a few months of education, getting your process down, whatever it is. And some people send their first mailer the day after they buy the course. Some people never send a mailer, unfortunately. And then some people, something in between that, obviously. But talk about your first few mailers. What did you learn? Did you get any deals? What did those look like? How much mail?
So my first 2 mailers were relatively small. I think it was 550 and 700. And honestly didn't get any deals from those first 2 mailers, but we did get a lot of traction, which was, positive in my mind. We had probably 20, 25 calls interested. Some of it was defective land. Some of it, just didn't work out. But in my mind, it had proof of concept in it that, people were actually calling. So from there, my third mailer is when I got my first deal. I think it was about 1,500 mailers that I sent out. And, from obviously there, I had a lot to learn. So that's when I started really implementing the Wednesday calls. It's a great resource. Also the community, the Discord community you guys have. If you have a question, a lot of times you can really even look right in the Discord and, try and figure out what you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. So and it's not uncommon. Like, he sent 1,200 mailers. The thing that separates people that don't make it in this business and Corey, people who are successful, is it's not 1,200 mailers and then throw in the towel. I'm done with land. I'm done with this. Like this is a business that hopefully has changed his life in 8 months, and in the future, he's gonna keep on growing with it. Like he could have spent 1,200 or bought 1,200 mailers, spent a couple thousand, whatever it is, and then thrown in the towel. Then he sent 1,500 more, so he's only 2,700 mailers in, and he got a deal. That's what we tell you guys: 22 to 25 to 27, somewhere in there. You're gonna get a deal if you do it on a consistent basis. What did that first deal look like?
So the first deal that we had was it was a buy 9, and we ended up selling it for 20. So right away, it was within. I think by the time we acquired it and then marketed it and resold it was about 45 days. So pretty quick turnaround. And as I said, the proof of concept was there with the calls, even from the first mailer. And I think once you educate yourself to a point where you understand the business model and understand that, sometimes you're going to send out mailers and you're just not, it's not going to work out. You just have to keep grinding and keep sending out mailers and be consistent, really.
Yeah, exactly. That's buy for 9. I never knew about that deal. Obviously, you funded that yourself?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. That's 10,000. That got all your money back in the business and more. If you sent, just to break down the numbers for you guys, $1,000 on education. Let's say he sent 2,500 mailers. $2,000 is probably high, but I'm going to say $2,000. So he's already up $7,000 after, I don't know. When was that? Like you said, 45 days. You sent your first 2 mailers in January. It sounds like. When was that? When you was it 3 months when you got your money back and you were a profitable business? What did that look like?
Yeah, it was about 3 months, give or take, maybe a little bit less, probably about 75, 80 days, I would say, around there.
That's incredible. That's really cool to hear about.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a home run deal, too. I know you've had some other deals since then, but it wasn't like you bought for 10 and sold for 100 or like anything crazy. Like it's bought for 9, sell for 20. I have a profitable business. Now I can keep on pumping more money, pumping more mail out. But let's talk about kind of those first few mailers. If you guys get past those first few mailers, 95% of people are successful. Whether you get a deal or not, Corey did. He was educating. He sent out good mail, good priced mail. Buy for 9, sell for 20. That's really well priced. But let's talk about like what your business looks like since then. I guess like what are you looking like? What's your deal flow look like? Because I know you've been sending quite a bit of mail.
Yeah, so actually a lot of what you guys preach is I think you say around you get a deal every 2,500 mailers, and we have 5 deals so far in 5.5 months. We've sent out 27,000 mailers. In about 5.5 months, it's about 5,000 a month. And yeah, we have 5 deals at different stages. 2 of them are closed. 1 of them are currently being marketed, and then 2 are in closing process. So, it's kind of exactly what you guys stated. And I think as long as you stay consistent and, join the calls, use the Discord as a resource, the business model, again, it speaks for itself. So,
what do those deals look like profit as far as you closed that 9? I know we closed one yesterday for you, or with you as a partner. What do those deals look like? So 5 deals, what does the profit look like?
Yeah, so our second deal that we've closed is a buy 14. We sold it for 30. We currently have one marketed. It was a buy 40, should be sell 75. And then the other 2 are a buy 15, should be sell about 40. And then we have another one that's a buy 7, should be about sell 20. So
nice. That's adding up pretty fast. Those numbers.
Yeah.
I've reviewed quite a few of your deals. It seems like every week. So I know we've told you on those calls, and this will be kind of good for members listening. I know there's deals we've told you on those calls, don't buy this, or negotiate down. And that's what I constantly tell people. The people who are the most successful are the people who kind of go against grain, not forcing deals that we say no to, but deals that we're a little more hesitant towards. Buy for 40, sell for 75. What did we say in a call when we reviewed that?
So you basically said, which it makes sense, if you're looking for a funder, a deal like that might not work out. Just the margins aren't perfect, but I'm in a position where I was able to fund that, and it just made sense for me at the time. It's not a perfect deal by any means, but when you guys reviewed it, because you did review it, you said, it should sell for about 70, 75. Might be hard to get funding, but it's not a bad deal. So we decided to move forward.
That's a good market too, right? Like that was a market that we thought could sell pretty fast. It's just a little tight.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's buy for 40, sell for 75. It's your money. Like you're going to make 30, 25,000. That's really cool. So let's talk about so are you still doing, so you said you got your real estate license. Are you still doing anything with that?
To be honest with you, I did a couple sales in my first year, but since I kind of dove into the land investing thing, I've kind of put that on the back burner. Again, as I said, I do work a full time, W-2 job in addition to that. So finding the balance between the two or three, even three, jobs is difficult at times.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of more in on the land investing side of things right now.
So what's that look like? What are your goals in terms of, because you're still working full time? I assumed you still were. You're only 8 months in. Like, what are your goals with land investing? Because right now, I mean, 70% of your time, 80% of your time is probably going towards your full time job. Then 20% of your time, and I don't know what the income looks like, but it seems like your projected income is going to be over $100,000 in land for your first 12 months of sending mail. But what are your kind of goals with your full time job? Do you have any goals to leave that?
I think eventually that's definitely the goal. For now, it's I'm a little bit more conservative by nature, I'd say. So I'm definitely, in terms of insurance and stuff like that, I'd like to keep it for now. But eventually, yeah, that is the ultimate goal, is to kind of dive fully into land investing, especially given the success so far. Although on a small scale, it's still very positive. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great success. 27,000 mailers. It sounds like you have quite a bit in the pipeline. And obviously you were able to fund that $40,000 deal, which is awesome. And I'm sure some of those first few deals helped that as well. Helped kind of you be able to fund that. But going forward, I guess, you're kind of using funding for some deals, using your own money for some. And that's how most people are. It's because at some point, if you're scaling this business up, you're going to run out of money. But how does that look like? So it seems like you've funded most of your deals thus far. Is that correct?
Yeah, most of them besides the one we did together. Yes.
Okay. Awesome. So what about like someone who's listening? Maybe this is their first podcast they're ever listening to with land investing. It sounds too good to be true, whatever it is. What's kind of your advice for someone? A lot of people are looking for a niche in real estate, I'm not a fan of wholesaling at all. Like, it's just, I don't think there's much value wholesalers bring to the world. Sorry if I'm offending anyone, but I just don't. Like, I think the value in us being able to close on a $40,000 property in 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, getting them cash, not leading them along, is extremely valuable. But that being said, what advice would you give someone who's looking into land investing? Let's just stop there.
I would definitely just say, the first thing you should do is educate yourself. Really, really learn about, learn about the land investing industry, and use resources like your Discord or other resources, YouTube or what have you. And I think it's once you understand the business model and then the margins, like the margins that are in this business. You guys state it all the time in your podcast, but it almost can't be beat that I know of. I mean, in terms of the margins in this business, so. That's kind of something that I would highlight. And that's what I would say, I guess.
It's when I'm like, I do consultations, I do all this stuff with potential members, all this stuff. And like, I try not to frame it like it's too good to be true. It's hard sometimes to say, cause I'm just trying to tell real stories. Like I think Janice's first deal when I interviewed her was like buy for 15 and sell for 40. Like that's not something, you don't do that. To have a $25,000 margin and flipping houses or wholesaling in particular, like you need a $200,000 property that you can assign at 225 or something like that. But for some of these margins, what value do you think? Because we have different people. We have people who come in with $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. They're ready to go all in, and then people that come in with some money behind them. How much has that helped you in terms of having a little bit more money behind you from the start? Do you think is a big advantage? But yeah, talk about that.
I think it definitely holds a bit of an advantage simply because, as you said before, if you're looking for a deal funder, like the margins need to be right for you to get funding. It's not impossible to do by any means, but I just think that if you have a little bit of money, it certainly makes it easier. But with that being said, I wouldn't deter me if I wasn't in this position. I was in a position where, say, I only had $3,000 to $5,000 to invest in it. Once you understand, again, the business model and the margins, which I've said like 5 times on this already, but once you understand that, it's worth at least giving it a shot for sure.
Exactly. And like there's so many businesses where you can't even get off the ground for $5,000. And this is a
Yeah.
business like you can legitimately turn 5,000 into 100,000 within a year, within 6 months. If you really grind hard, it gets good deals. Whether you're getting deal funding yourself, whatever it is. And that's what I'm seeing that a lot in the community right now in terms of tightening margins for people who have money. I'm not against it by any means. Like buy for 40, sell for 75. But when it gets tricky is when you have defective land and you have questionable land with questionable margins. That's where it can get hairy, and that's what I'm trying to portray to a lot of, because there is more money in this group in terms of people coming in than there were I don't know, 6-12 months ago, whatever it is. But I love those margins. If you have good land, like you can be a little higher, but you don't want to hold on to that tight margin for 8-12 months. Is that kind of your mindset when if someone's trying to negotiate up with you, maybe you offered 37 for that land, 37 sell for 75 is obviously great. Okay, they want 40. It's a little tighter, but that being said, like the margins and the property and the speed of the market seems good.
Yeah, I would definitely say it's very market dependent. If you're in a market that it's, not a lot of stuff selling, it's going to be more difficult to sell. Then I would definitely say you need a much larger margin. When I price my properties, I'm looking to sell it as quickly as possible. I think the threshold that you guys stay, and I'm really, if you ask anyone, within 3 months, you really want it. You really want it to sell within 3 months. If it falls out of that window, it gets a little bit tougher to sell, in my opinion. And yeah, I would definitely say, it's definitely market dependent.
Yep. I think the first like 2 weeks on market are so important. That's when you're going to get like 80% of your leads. Is that first 2 weeks. People are interested. People are intrigued by this new property on the market that's listed at a really good price. I know your property that we partnered on that you sold for $60,000. I mean, you were probably under contract in 3 or 4 days. I don't know exactly where the buyer came from. But we are under contract. Where did that buyer come from, by the way?
She was a realtor, so it was on the MLS.
Okay.
She just happened.
Yeah. Yeah, I think just those first couple weeks and pricing it right, and you cannot, like when your margins are tight in a questionable market, you need to price at 80% you need to price in a questionable market at 80% to sell fast. And if your margins are tight on the back end, you're going to try to get every ounce out of it. And then you're going to end up holding the property for 6 months, 12, whatever it is, because things are not selling right now if you're not priced correct. Like people, even in markets with no competition that is relatively hot, things are not selling if you're not pricing and putting on the market. People are waiting for deals right now. And that's what I've seen. And when they see deals come up, like your deal for 60,000, like people are really intrigued and they just want to buy it because I think you were probably at 85% maybe of market value is what we talked about.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd definitely say that.
For sure. So you're 6 months in sending mail, we'll say. You did some education prior to that, or you started our education prior to that. What are your goals like the next 6-12 months, like mail volume, deal flow? We were one time at like real big on how many deals you're doing. It doesn't matter. Do bigger deals and you don't need to do as many. I'm really big on bigger deals, but what are your goals the next 6-12 months in this business, mail volume and deals/profit?
Yeah, so we definitely we're doing about, as I said, about 5,000 mailers per month. Now I'd like to scale that up to at least about 8,000 while we're still working full time. I will quickly touch on when our second month sending out mailers, we sent out about 10,000 mailers, and we didn't really have the proper systems in place. It was definitely a mistake that we made. And we had to readjust and reassess and send out less mail essentially so that we could and put systems in place to be able to get respond to all the callers properly. We probably missed a deal or two just from sending out too much mail too quickly. So that's definitely a mistake that I made, and I would warn against doing it moving forward.
Exactly.
For new investors.
Do you have profit goals for the next 12 months? Or finishing the year? Because you started in January. Like, what are you trying to finish the year at?
Yeah, so our initial goal was I wanted to make 100,000. I think I'm adjusting that to more like to the 150 to 200 range. I think it's attainable. So that's kind of the adjustment right now. That's my thought.
Nice. Are you focusing on bigger deals, or what are you mailing? Like, what acreage range are you mailing?
sorry. Initially, we were mailing 1 to 20 acres, and then about 2 to 3 months later, we scaled it up to 50 acres. And a couple of markets we've noticed kind of the 1 to 2 acre ranges aren't, we're not getting the best deals from there. So we'll probably focus on 2 acres and further, and probably higher acreages even than that moving forward.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, there's so many big deals out there, and you'll get those 100,000. A lot of people. It is very enticing, guys, when people get $200,000 or $250,000 offers, and we tell them we can close in 2 weeks, and we're not lying with that. Like, if Corey gets a deal today that's $200,000 worth $400,000 worth $375 to $420, somewhere in that, he will get funding today. Like, I have no doubt that someone will have $200,000 ready for his deal. And that's what's so exciting about the growth of this business and the growth of community is money being within there. And there's a lot more hands-off partners as well. When you partner with people like Daniel and myself, we try to be hands-on, help you guys through the process. But the ability for someone with $5,000 in their bank account, with $2,000 in their bank account to get funding fast with no risk at all, there literally is no risk. If you don't sell that property for $28,000 that we bought for $28,000 together, all the risk is on myself and my team. Obviously, you risk a relationship, everything like that. But with deal funding, there isn't financial risk on your part. But yeah, I think big deals. I'm really excited to see where you guys go the next 6-12 months. But we'll end it here with I want one more question. What is, like, you said your wife is doing a little bit. What is, I think I remember her in a call posing as you, asking some questions in there. What is that relationship? Who's doing what in the business?
Yeah, so my wife is basically on the transactional side of things, and she also does a lot of the data scrubbing for us. She has a background in venture capital, so she's well attuned to some of that stuff. So she does that, and then I kind of do the marketing side of things, the analysis and the pricing.
Awesome. I mean, that sounds like a good little partnership. How do you guys work well? You guys work well together?
Yeah, we definitely work well together. Obviously there's a balance, a work and a home balance that we're trying to, obviously we're adjusting all the time. So, it's a struggle, especially with a full-time job. But as we move forward, we'll continue to adjust. And definitely want to highlight Wayne, your podcast with Wayne. It was him talking about how him and his wife kind of work together. It's something that really resonated with me, and tried to learn a little bit from that episode too. So,
yeah, I think it's really cool when spouses, because it kind of brings a different dynamic, and we have quite a few people doing that tag teaming together, and most of them are really successful when you split up roles correctly and you guys aren't overlapping, which it sounds like you guys have a really good dynamic with. But other than that, Corey, I really, really appreciate you hopping on here. I think it's going to be really valuable for new people, from experienced members who are maybe people who are trying to get their first deal right now. I think it's a very valuable episode.
As always, thank you for joining. Please do us a huge favor and like and subscribe our YouTube channel and share this with a friend. It really means the world to Ron and I, but more importantly, it could help change the life of someone else. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next episode.